Welcome to State of Tech, Synechron's innovation podcast. Synechron is a leading global digital transformation consulting firm focused on financial services and big technology organizations. Our State of Tech podcast hosts subject matter experts and business leaders as they explore emerging technologies, industry insights, innovation trends, and more. Let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome to the latest edition of Synechron's State of Tech podcast series, where we ignite conversations that matter. I'd like to begin by wishing a happy Pride Month to all our listeners. I'm your host, Anushka Bhargava, all geared today to talk about inclusivity and the potential of diverse talent in the technology sector. I'm delighted to be joined by Kali Tantau, Head of UK Recruitment and the lead pillar of our women's ERG, and Aasha Tikoo, Director of Strategic Partnerships at Meiji Work, one of our esteemed DEI partners. A warm welcome to both of you on this special occasion.
Thanks, Anushka. Really delighted to be here.
Let's dive straight in. Kali, my first question is for you. According to you, what are the major barriers to achieving diversity in tech hiring today?
So yes, there are a range of barriers to achieving diversity in tech hiring, and these include a range of different barriers such as unconscious bias, lack of inclusive hiring practices, lack of diversity and inclusion in the workplace culture, lack of mentorship and role models, and barriers such as discrimination, unequal access to resources, and also social inequalities. And finally, a lack of diversity in the talent pipeline. So I just want to address one example in relation to the lack of diversity in the talent pipeline. What we do here at Synechron is add a note within our adverts to encourage individuals to apply, even if they don't have all the skills listed in the job advert, as we've found certain diverse groups will not apply if they don't have all of the skills listed in the advert. But overall, addressing all of these barriers that I've mentioned requires a multifaceted approach, and that would focus on creating things like inclusive hiring practices, promoting diversity in education and training, fostering a supportive workplace in the culture, and also addressing unconscious bias through awareness and training. One final thing, additionally, implementing things like mentoring programs and providing opportunities for career advancement for underrepresented groups. These can all help overcome these barriers.
That's a very interesting example, Carly. Thank you very much. I'd now like to know from you, Aasha, how does fostering inclusivity during hiring processes drive innovation and enhance productivity in your teams?
Thanks, Anushka. That's a really interesting question. And of course, I work across a really broad spectrum of different clients and industries. Inclusivity in the hiring process has a profound impact on innovation and productivity. And some of the key ways we've seen this influence manifest have been around diverse perspectives, fostering innovation. So varied problem-solving approaches, for example, by bringing together individuals with different background, experiences and ways of thinking. The diversity of thought leads to more creative and innovative solutions as colleagues approach problems from multiple angles. And ultimately, that would lead to enhanced creativity. A diverse team is more likely to challenge the status quo and generate unique ideas. And ultimately, exposure to different cultures, contexts, and life experiences will spark creativity, leading ultimately to the development of novel, leading, innovative products and services. So that's one example. On speaking to clients, I think another big one has been around enhanced employee engagement and retention, creating a sense of belonging. So inclusive hiring overall fosters an environment where all employees feel valued and respected. So this sense of belonging increases engagement as employees are more likely to be committed and invested in their work. And in some instances, that can also lead to a reduced turnover. So where employees see that their company values diversity and inclusivity, they're more likely to stay long term. Of course, lower turnover rates will contribute to stability and continuity within teams, positively impacting productivity. And another one is increased employee performance. So ultimately, you have a motivated workforce, and it creates a really collaborative synergy when you have a inclusive team, lots of different communities represented. Individuals leverage each other's strengths and they compensate for individual weaknesses. And this sort of synergy enhances overall team productivity. And other than an ethical and social responsibility, there is importance around companies positioning themselves as an employer of choice for their particular industry. Talented individuals are drawn to organizations that demonstrate commitment to diversity and inclusion. It also brings about the organization a competitive advantage. Building that reputation for inclusivity gives companies a competitive edge in the talent market, enabling them to attract and retain the best and brightest, which is a lot of the reason why our clients come to work with us.
Thank you, Aasha. I see that inclusivity does play a very crucial role in enhancing creativity and innovation within teams. What do you think are the most effective inclusive hiring practices, and how do you think they've evolved?
I come at this from having worked across multiple clients, but also having worked in talent acquisition myself for many years. We were constantly trying to explore all our options when it came to implementing inclusive hiring practices, and they have really evolved significantly over the year, ultimately adapting to better address the barriers to diversity and create more equitable hiring processes. I've created a list of some of the most effective, including some of those that I myself pioneered when I was working in corporate law. The first one is definitely blind recruitment. The initial implementation of blind recruitment is removing any identifiable information such as names, gender, educational institutions from CVs to prevent any bias. Advanced software now anonymizes CV and application materials to reduce biases through the hiring process, so things like contextual data. Companies are now extending blind recruitment to initial coding tests and other pre-employment assessments. Another one is around structured interviews. When initially introduced, that was around using consistent sets of questions for all candidates to reduce bias and improve fairness. Again, this has been around for a long time, but in terms of its evolution, now organizations are incorporating standardized scoring rubrics and multiple interviewers to ensure diverse perspectives in the evaluation process. And interview training now includes a focus on recognizing and mitigating biases. It's not just about having people from different ethnicities. We're expanding the practice to include not just gender and ethnic diversity, but also diversity in job function and experience level. And panels are now often including representatives from employee resource groups. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but the whole role of the employee resource group is really evolves into playing more of a part with regards to strategy, hiring, policy, lots of evolution in that hiring panel piece. And there are many others, inclusive job descriptions. And now companies are using software tools to analyze and optimize job descriptions for inclusivity, a proactive outreach and recruitment. So creating dedicated diversity recruitment teams and leveraging data analytics to identify and reach out to diverse talent pools, building long-term relationships with community organizations. Again, I think this has been in the works for a while, but it's really something that organizations are making part of their core strategy rather than it being add-ons. It's now a critical part of their approach. Employee resource groups, as I mentioned already, gone through quite an evolutionary process with regards to the role they play within the organisation. But also there are things to consider, such as inclusive benefits and policies. Implementing flexible work arrangements and parental leave policies is where it began, but now we're starting to see more support for mental health, caregiving responsibilities, and of course, LGBTQ plus inclusive policies. Organisations are regularly reviewing and updating those policies based on employee feedback.
It's definitely interesting to see how hiring practices have evolved, and these practices definitely ensure an inclusive workplace. My next question is for you, Kali. Could you share your thoughts on the role of employee resource groups, or as we like to call them, ERGs, on a company's culture, and what impact have you seen them make?
On a global level, Synechron has set up employee resource groups for multiple diverse groups, just to name a few: LGBTQ, women's, men's, neurodiverse, junior professionals, disability, etc. These ERGs are really having a positive impact on shaping the culture of our workplace. They foster a feeling of inclusion and belonging and are advocating for inclusive policies and practices and initiatives, and finally raising cultural awareness within the firm. Our ERGs help provide a voice for underrepresented groups, and they encourage mentorship and professional development. They provide network opportunities, which creates space for open dialogue. And they're also providing a sense of community, a shared purpose, and a good sense of well-being within the firm.
I definitely agree with you that ERGs create safe spaces in the community for employees from diverse backgrounds. My final question to both of you is, what future trends or technologies do you see playing a crucial role in advancing diversity and inclusion within hiring practices?
What I'm seeing a lot more of in terms of trends is AI and machine learning for bias reduction. A lot more around algorithmic audits. So companies are using AI to audit their hiring processes and identify potential biases, analyzing that hiring data, using tools that can highlight patterns that might indicate discrimination and suggest changes to make processes fairer. That's definitely something in the talent acquisition space that I'm seeing more of. And the implementation of unbiased screening tools. Obviously, AI-powered CV screening tools are being designed to ignore demographic information such as names, addresses, and graduation dates, focusing solely on skills and experience. So that's definitely something that we've seen developing. Also, I'd say in technology space, advanced tracking systems. So using ATS platforms, which specifically are designed to track diversity metrics and ensure that diverse candidates are identified and biases are reduced in the hiring process. And then again, the blind recruitment features is that some of these systems can anonymize applications during the initial review stages to prevent bias based on gender, race, or other characteristics. Lots of recruiters are taking a skills first approach. Using gamified assessments and skill-based tests can provide a more objective measure of candidates' abilities, which obviously then reduces the reliance on traditional credentials that may, in some instances, favour certain demographics. Also, cultural fit assessments that I think are fairly new that can help evaluate how well a candidate might integrate with company culture without relying on potentially biased interviewer perceptions.
Yes, I've seen many of those emerging technologies myself. Virtual reality for inclusive interviewing, gamified assessments for skills-based hiring, and blockchain for credential verification. Our resourcing team have been using our Synechron AI tool Nexus, which uses machine learning algorithms to assist in searching CVs for skill sets, creating adverts from job specifications, and it helps us detect and remove any biased language from our job descriptions and helps us to anonymize resumes. We also analyze our historical hiring data to identify patterns of bias and make informed decisions to improve diversity and inclusion. Hybrid and remote working trends have also given us access to global talent pools, which creates opportunities for greater diversity and inclusion in our hiring and allows us to tap into diverse talent from different geographic regions, backgrounds, and cultures. All of these future trends and technologies hold promise for advancing diversity and inclusion within hiring practices by addressing these biases and promoting equitable opportunities and leveraging innovation.
Thank you very much, both of you. It's amazing to see what tech and especially AI can do to create diversity within organizations. It's clear that technology and commitment can create such a powerful change in the DEI space. Thank you, Kali and Aasha, for such an insightful discussion. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in today. Join us next time as we continue to unravel the threads of technology and diversity. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Synechron State of Tech podcast. Don't forget to like and share this episode and subscribe to stay up to date on all of the latest and innovative technologies savvy businesses need to know about. To learn more about Synechron, head to our website at www.synechron.com. Stay tuned.